To be honest, very honest, I don't have a playbook. You have to assume that about 7 out of 10 startups fail. There's nothing like a best event. If you attend 10 events, 5 events, you might find that they're all pretty useless. Do soft networking. Don't be in your silo. Hey, I'm doing well in my job. That's it. I don't care about what happens. You need to build that org intelligence. Once you start speaking Chinese, the guy steps back and says, wait a second. The person acknowledges that you did work, the doors open up.
Welcome back to the Rolling Decades podcast, where we explore the pivotal choices people make in their 20s and 30s and how these choices shape the rest of their lives. In our last episode with Guru Bhatt from Google, we talked about how to build tech careers across countries and decades. Today's conversation continues that same theme, but from a completely different lens. Joining us today is Rao Tirumala, ML leader at Wayfinder Biosciences, ex-director of engineering at Cisco, ex-GM at Mu Sigma. What makes Rao different is not only he's someone who's worked across continents, but he's also set up businesses in countries like China and made career pivots that most of us wouldn't even dare attempt. From setting up a business in China to leading AI-driven discovery in US, Rao has lived many professional lives while we're still figuring out how to excel in just one. Welcome to the Rolling Decades podcast, Mr. Rao. How are you doing today?
Good. Yeah, thank you.
So, before we begin, can you take us through your career so far while touching upon some key points in your career?
So there's actually 2 dimensions through which I can lead it to. There's actually the time dimension and the geographical dimensions. But
Okay.
let's go the time dimensions because it's easier.
Yeah.
So I would say um, that first 10 years of my career was mostly on the software engineering side. Just being a software engineer working in several software related companies. The next 5 years was in leadership roles in a startup. Then the next 10 years took a dramatically different turn and in a different geography
Okay.
in China.
Okay.
And then the next 5 years, I built up the Mu Sigma business in China, and then moved back to the US, and then spent the next 5 to 7 years in the AI machine learning space. But in the last 3 years, still in the AI machine learning space, but in a completely different domain, which is in a biotech drug discovery company. Kind of pretty different spaces, different geographies. Yeah, kind of weird.
No, I don't think it's weird at all. That's why I wanted to have you on my podcast because I found it very, very interesting that somebody can have so many, like I said, multiple careers in a single career, right? So that's how I look at it. So I think one major decision that I could see is kind of working in a country like China, right? So that too back in the 90s when everybody was planning to migrate to the States because they see so much opportunity here. Um, what made you pursue a career in China?
So, in fact, to tell you the truth, my family was also thought it was pretty weird to think of going to a place like China while you're already in the US. Yeah, so it took them 3 4 years to really understand why I moved that
Mhm.
thing. So I was just curious, saying, "Hey, it's a completely different country. Why don't I give it a shot?" Right. So I thought I would just be there for 2 3 years, but ended up being 15 years.
So going to a country like China, which is very different from what we are used to, right? So what were some of the surprises that you felt over there, and how did you overcome those surprises and actually embed into the culture and the systems over there?
my experience, right? I think it takes about 10 years living in a country to really understand what's going on.
So this is true for any country then.
Any country, right?
Okay.
So I'll give you an example. When I moved to the US, after 3 years, I thought, oh, I understand the US.
Yeah.
I understand everything, right?
Yeah.
But but uh, actually, you don't. You think you understand it.
Mm.
Again, this is my experience. It would take about 5 years to understand a country, meaning the first 5 years is setting the baseline. From the fifth year, you start understanding. Only after spending 10 years, then you say that you can start claiming, really understand
Okay.
US. The same thing would apply to India. Any foreigner comes and he says, 2, 3 years, wow, I understand India. No, no. Also think with regards to China, it took 3 years to actually speak the language, read the script, write the script. So it took about 10 years to really start saying, okay, now I understand what's going on. So another thing I've realized in experience is that after being in the country for 10 years, you'll get a deeper understanding of the country once you step out.
Okay.
So it means that I start understanding better about India once I came out of India, because you have now a objective viewpoint from outside.
Okay, that's interesting. So how did your perspective of US change then after you've stepped out of the US?
I think if I can summarize it, the people in the US uh, are pretty forward looking, uh, generous people,
Mm-hmm.
big hearted,
Mm-hmm.
right? And China, I would say similar thing. They're very forward looking,
Mm-hmm.
very ambitious,
Mm-hmm.
hardworking.
So at the core, then some things remain the same.
Yeah, I would say that if I look at the US and China, one thing common is that uh, both these countries are very forward looking. And also, one thing I heard from a venture capitalist, which is very true, is that China is a socialistic country with capitalistic people, and US is a, uh capitalistic country
Mm-hmm.
but with socialistic people.
Okay.
I mean, there's some truth in it. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, got it. So yeah, so then you're saying that it took you almost 10 years to actually understand China, how to go about your work, everything, right? So during this period, I'm sure you built support systems and network that are very critical for any career, right? So how did you go about doing that? And is there anything, again, that is similar across countries that could help our listeners too?
When I go into a new place, one of the things that I usually do is that I participate in a lot of activities, like whether it's social activities or professional networking events or conferences or seminars, right? So social events could mean it could also mean actually parties. The first 6 months to a year, I just don't actually discriminate what I am attending. It's just that as long as I'm actually meeting people,
Mm-hmm.
that's what actually drives my decisions about, hey, whether this event is good or not. So you understand the people, the place, and the events. So unconsciously, again, this is not all planned, right? It just happened that way. And then when I look back, then I've realized that what I was doing is that I was actually creating the dots,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
creating the dots. And then it just always happened that the dots always connect.
Yeah.
But they would connect in a direction and a time that you didn't anticipate, but it would connect.
So basically, what you're saying is you need to be as active as possible, and attend events, attend anything basically that puts you in contact with people of that country. But a lot of people are also, I think, either are afraid or shy to go out and connect with people whom they're not familiar with. So uh, again, in China, that's you don't have an option, right? You have to do that. Same in the US also, I would say to some extent, but in the US, people still have some, um, they have some comfort zone because there's so many Indians here too. But do you think through these you build those deep connections, deep network that is required to grow in your career?
Um, so this is like a funnel, right? You're
Yeah.
building a funnel, right? So only by meeting a lot of people, uh, a lot of events, you would know how to discriminate if it's a valued connection or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I used to, so I used to be the chair of the American Chamber of Commerce at the IT committee in Shanghai, China, right? So when people used to ask me, "Hey, so tell me the best events I should attend," right? I said, "Look, there's nothing like a best event." I said,
Mm-hmm.
in general, um, if you attend 10 events,
Mm-hmm.
right, 5 events, you might find that they're all pretty useless, right? And
Okay.
and 3 events would be like, oh, okay, this makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be 1 or 2 outstanding events. That's where you get the biggest bang for the time that you spend. So what I'm saying is that in order to get to that 1 or 2 best events that's going to help your career or help your life, you
Mm-hmm.
have to go through those 8 other things that may not add that much value.
So, okay, once you do attend, let's say you have attended a few events where you still made surface level connections. So, how do you take those connections to a deeper connection? So, how does that process look like?
I think once you come to that stage, right, at least in the US, which is much more open society, be upfront about the help you need. Be upfront, just saying that, hey, I'm looking for this kind of thing. Can you help me connect to people or organizations that can help? Right? It should be to and fro, meaning that you should also be, willing to help out people.
Mm-hmm.
Same way, when somebody actually reaches out to you for help, uh, help them out, but don't expect things immediately coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So, so this is what I feel in my experience. If you help somebody, the benefit to come back later at some other time, but it's not of your choosing.
Okay, so what essentially it's karma, right?
Yeah, the karma, but karma will come back actually multiplied.
Okay.
So if you put in X, it'll come back 3x, 5x, 10x at a time that karma decides. And when I need help, um, I'm pretty open to saying, hey, I need this help. Do you know anyone I should reach out?
But wouldn't that seem too forward? At least I think in India, you're not supposed to ask for things outright, right? That's the kind of culture or mentality that most of us grew up with.
Yes, I think that's right. But US, as I said, is more an open society, but you don't have to ask that help right away. You actually have to get to know the person a few times. The person has to be also be comfortable, and also people are willing to help
Mm-hmm.
if you have done your homework.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
don't just come up and say, hey, I want to work on AI in molecular biology, right? You have to put some work, take some course, or did some self study, and you explain to say, hey, this AI part, I think I'm already comfortable with. I've been doing this thing, but on the biology part, this is what I did, kind of thing. But I need some help for the next step, right? So you got to show that you put in your homework. I think if you do that, I think even in India or China, people respect it. People respect the effort that you put in, right? I mean, same thing. I'll give an example. In China, people always think foreigners are, um, they cannot work as good as us. They don't understand, our system and things like that. But once you start speaking Chinese, the guy steps back and says, "Wait a second, you put in the effort
Yeah.
to learn the language. Okay,
Mm.
then what happens is that the person acknowledges that you did work, the doors open up."
Got it. So you need to show that you have skin in the game, not just say that you're working hard, but you should also show it. Moving on, in China, you were working at Cisco and then you became director at Cisco. So how did that growth path look like? So if somebody is starting out right now, let's say in tech or as a software engineer, how do they prepare themselves to grow to such a level?
There's not one path. Um,
Okay.
so it all depends upon your personality and your background. But at least in a multinational company, like for example a US company, it helps to be upfront, right? For example, if you want to grow up in your uh, management career, right, or if you want to go in tech leadership in
Mm-hmm.
career,
Mm-hmm.
uh, talk to your manager. I mean, you don't have to be like blunt. You
Mm-hmm.
just say that, "Hey, this is my goal, kind of thing. This is where I want to go. How can you help me understand what I need to do in order to grow into the career?"
Okay.
In a larger organization, like for example, a Fortune 500 company, it also helps to build relationship, skip level, meaning that not just your manager, but
Mm-hmm.
also his manager, right? That's a skill you'll actually develop, but it's
Mm-hmm.
nothing that, so it's written, but you have to make people at least aware
Mm-hmm.
that, hey, you want to grow in that angle, and you need to do soft networking.
Okay. So what does that mean, soft network?
So, soft networking in the sense that you're also talking to people outside of your organization, during lunchtime or
Yeah.
right. So when reorgs happen, they might be looking for people with a different skill sets, right? So when other people are aware, then it's easy for them to say, "Oh, wait a second, you worked in that specific domain. In our new organization, we need the skills. Can you talk to us?"
Yeah.
Don't be shy, right? As long as you do your homework, don't be shy, right?
Yeah.
But if you haven't done your homework and if you're trying to, you know, do the thing, then people will be thinking, "Oh, I mean, why is he? I mean, why he or she is wasting my time?"
Yeah. Yeah. True. Basically, you're saying that you should be upfront and make sure that people know your goals and then you understand how you achieve your goals with the help of your manager or, maybe even your skip if that works out. So that's the secret sauce, if I may say so.
That's
Right.
not a secret sauce. I would say is that is in an organization. You just have to get to know what's going on. Don't be in your silo, right? Because especially in this age, organizations are changing fast, right? Don't be in a silo. Don't be too comfortable. Yeah, 2 years, 3 years is okay, but beyond
Mhm.
3 years, just keep your antenna active.
Right, right. So, yeah, is there anything else that people need to be doing other than whatever we've discussed?
It doesn't hurt um, pushing yourself. You need to be constantly learning, and especially these days, online resources. There's so many top-notch resources just available. Like say, for example, how was I able to move into a molecular biology field? So I think these days we are lucky. These days there's so many world-class resources just available. So if I could put one suggestion is that, I mean, at least one thing I did in my first 10 years, I watched very little TV.
Okay. Watch little TV.
Yeah, very little TV. I stay away from TV. I don't watch news.
Okay. So how did that help?
Because TV and social media is meant to kind of waste your time.
Mm-hmm.
Social media, there's actually 5% benefit that you get, but you need to spend 40% of your time.
Okay. The ROI is not great.
Yeah. But what I do is that I read a lot, right? I read a lot of newspapers, books. So that gives me the time to get a better perspective on technology, society, governments, culture, uh, this kind of thing. So this style, it may not work for anyone, but it just, yeah, it just worked for me.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, I think for us in this generation, it's also a little hard because I think we were in the transition generation. I think some of us did not have TV. We were also just reading books, but then we were the generation which had to change and transition to the new one. So it is obviously true that everything is taking so much time, but there's also an argument from people how obviously technology is helping people learn. So because of that, every information is accessible. So if you want to learn something new, it's much easier to learn and much
Yep,
faster.
agree.
That's the argument that people have. But yeah, everything has pros and cons, and it depends on how you use the technology. Moving on, so you were talking about molecular biology. So your transitions. That's what I want to talk about next. Is you've made a lot of bold career moves. Uh, it's not. I know it's not easy to leave big companies and switch industries or even jump into startups, which is what I think your second half of your career was. So after Cisco and Music Mom, you joined a startup called Xnor.ai. How did that move happen? Why did you choose to join Xnor?
So I joined Xnor when I moved back to the US. Again, why it attracted is because it's a pretty unique company, unique technology, right? They were building actually machine learning models for the edge devices. Edge devices are the drones, IP cameras, tiny devices, and they also had some hardware angle, like FPGA chips. It's called the field programmable gate arrays, right? This is what I studied in my grad school in electrical engineering. So all these things kind of attracted me. Again, the curiosity-driven thing, because I thought, hey, this looks interesting. This machine learning stuff is a continuous to what I did at Musigma and a little bit about data at Cisco. So that's a continuity. But moving into edge devices and building ML models, and also which is hardware angle, is something I have the background, but I haven't exercised yet.
Okay.
Give it a shot. So that's how I jumped in.
So, but how did you see there is potential in Xnor? So, what I'm trying to ask is, so there are a lot of people who want to join startups, but the major challenge is you don't know whether that startup is going to be successful or not, whether it'll be a Facebook or it'll just go bust the next year.
Yeah, that unfortunately no one can tell,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no cookbook that says this, this company is going to be successful, it's going to be fail, right? But in general, when you go into a startup, you have to assume that about 7 out of 10 startups fail, right? So when you jump in, if it works out, great.
Yeah.
But when you go in, always think about what if this company fails? What would I get?
Okay.
So, but if you go into a company thinking that, hey, there's a chance that it might succeed, there's also a big chance that it might fail, but I learn new technologies, right? I'll get experience in this, so in this area, blah, blah, blah. So even if the company fails, I'm ended up positive. So your first startup may not be the ones that will make your career, but it could be the second or third startup. So keep that in mind, right? Take the big picture. So when you jump into a startup, first thing is uh, just you have to be comfortable with what the mission of the startup is. Right? Is it something that you're excited with? Right? Second is, do you like the founders? Do you like the team that you're working with? And three, very, very important, is that the skills uh, that you'll be learning, right? Are these like really good skill sets to gain? So once you're comfortable with the three things, I would say jump.
Yeah, I think a lot of people talk about founders, but they don't talk about the skills. So it's more vague. Okay, yes, it's a startup, everything is going fast, so you will be learning a lot of things. But because it's so flexible and volatile, there is no specific job role, right? So you'll be doing everything. But I think, like you said, it's important to be clear as to exactly what skill set you are looking for and whether this opportunity is going to give you that. And so after this, then you pivoted again from ML to drug discovery. I know it's still ML in drug discovery, but it's still quite a wide shift. So with so many pivots, I think you now probably have a playbook as to how to navigate these transitions, how to choose this transition. So is there a playbook that you have that you follow?
To be honest, very honest, I don't have a playbook. Now that you're asking those questions, it looks like there's an implicit playbook I'm playing with.
Yeah.
That I haven't thought about it, but actually it's true. The implicit playbook, it is that, as I said, those three things which I look at, right? So molecular biology. I don't know anything about biology, but I'll tell you how I came into this biotech firm, right? So I met a professor at one of a mentorship events in Seattle. So he heard my background and he said, "Hey, Rao, you know what? I have two postdocs in my group. They're trying to set up a company, right? Can you help them, right? Set up." Then I said, "What do they do?" Right? So I said, "Sure, I'll be happy to." Right? Because he said, "Hey, look, you have set up companies, startups, and you worked in big companies. Maybe you're the right guy to help them." So I went and talked to the young postdocs, right? They're PhDs in molecular biology. And then I thought, wow, they're working with very cool technologies. They're working in RNA, and they're working with actually CRISPR, CRISPR gene editing and all those things. This I just heard about it, when reading through the papers and books, things like that. So that piqued my curiosity. I said, wow, this is very interesting, right? At that time, there was no machine learning, nothing. And then first I helped them as an advisor, trying to set up the company, how to incorporate the company in Washington, and then how to set up a pitch deck so that you can present it to the investors and things like that. That was my role. And then then I started trying to see the actual problem that they're trying to solve. I realized, oh, they're trying to find a needle in the haystack. They're trying to find the 10 molecules out of 20 billion molecules, right? Then I said, then it started becoming a competition problem. And then I start saying, well, you guys should think of using actually machine learning to accelerate your drug discovery.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not the experts in this. So I had to walk the talk. Then I just joined the company. Let's say hypothetically, right? In a year, company is gone, but I still have my machine learning AI skills, but applied to a different domain. But here at the company, every day I'm learning something new. So that's what actually drives me. So always look at the people that you're working with, the industry. Is it a growing industry?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the third is that are you gaining valuable skill sets?
I think you also have to be a little brave. I would say I would add that to my playbook to make these kind of moves. Laura, it's easier to and more comfortable also to stay in the same field.
Yeah.
But
Now that you asked, can I just go back to the origin? You asked it, so why is bravery? It's not because I'm actually naturally brave. Actually, I think maybe it's how the family upbringing is because I grew up in Kurnool, right, Andhra Pradesh. My dad, I mean, two things very interesting. One was from the age of 11, he would encourage me to do solo travel.
so you travel alone when you were what in your sixth, seventh class?
Yeah,
Seventh grade?
yeah,
Okay.
that's one. Second is that my dad bought this Encyclopedia Britannica books, right? First few years, I just hated this. I didn't open it. It's like, oh, boring. I hated it. But after a few years, one day casually, I just opened it. I said, oh, wow, looks interesting. And then um, my world opened up in the sense that in the mind to see, oh, there's a bigger world than outside of Kurnool, outside of Vijayawada, outside of Andhra Pradesh, outside of India, right?
Yeah.
So that actually sow the seeds.
Mhm. So those are the things I think. Then you're saying that they help you shape your personality, which further is kind of driving these moves and choices that you've made.
Yeah,
So you've had a fulfilling and successful career so far with a lot of wins in your career. But I'm sure when you were starting out, you must have had your doubts like the rest of us, like, what will happen in your career? Will you achieve your goals? Or sometimes you don't even know your goals, right? What do you want to be? But it's like some elusive picture that you have where you want to be successful, although you don't know what that success means. So, what doubts or worries did you have when you were in your 20s and 30s? And if, let's say, a young Rao is coming up to you and expressing those doubts to you, how would you address them?
at the age of 20, when we were still in college in India, I was worried about what kind of jobs we'll get. Somebody used to scare us saying, "Oh no, the only job you'll get is actually system analyst job." So there was all this uncertainty
Mm-hmm.
at the age of 20. At the age of 25, at the time I was already in the US. At the age of 25, there's a different kind of worry. Is that, oh, will my job be gone? Because when I joined, that was my first job,
Mm-hmm.
and there was this reorgs happening every year. People used to lose jobs and things like that. And then at the time, I was on H1, right? So I was like always like worried. Oh my God, when am I going to be next?
So, if a young Rao is coming up to you and expressing these worries to you, what would you tell him?
He said, "Don't worry." No, no, I would say seriously. At the age of 20, I was too obsessed with uh, academics. So even though in the university that I attended, there's so many clubs, build your team working skill. You can build up your leadership skills. I didn't make any use of it. So if I was younger, I would have said, uh, look, good academics is important, but if you have some time to do other things because other soft skills are also important. So I would have focused on that.
Mm-hmm.
It's because what happened is that my soft skills building all happened during my travels. Age of 25, I would say is that don't worry. I think even sometimes actually losing a job is painful, but it uh, sets you up uh, to make better choices in your future parts of the career. For example, I really lost my job badly when I was the age of 33. I mean, it was painful, but all I wished was that why didn't it happen in my late 20s? Then I could have learned important lessons.
What is that one important lesson that it teaches?
Being aware of what's happening other parts of the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be very obsessed that, hey, I'm doing well in my job. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about what happens kind of thing. Because some decisions that happens that impact you may
Yeah.
not be because of you,
Yeah.
something else. So you need to build that org intelligence, being aware.
So, yeah, I think it's been a really great conversation now. So, thank you for sharing your journey, not just the major milestones, but also the doubts, the worries that you had, and also the thought process behind the decisions that you took. Although you probably didn't have that rationale when you were taking those decisions, but at least looking back now, we are able to look at the patterns. What stands out from your story and what I think will also help our listeners is how many times you chose the less obvious route. But I think your career has proved that these kind of choices open up new worlds of opportunities. So it's comforting to know that, you don't have to stick to a single field or a single industry or single role. You can take that chance, you can take that risk and explore different fields and different careers. To all of our listeners, if this episode gave you something to think about, please do share it with a friend who's figuring out their next big move. And also, don't forget to drop comments about what you thought of the episode and what else you would want to listen to on the podcast. And I'd love to hear from all of you. Follow the Rolling Decades podcast on Spotify, Apple, and other platforms where you get your podcasts from, because we have more honest conversations coming your way on not just careers, but also startups, investing, and everything in between. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you soon.